With today's high-power offense, fast style of play, and elite perimeter shooting, Stephen Curry is most responsible for changing the NBA. With his insane three-point stroke, pulling up from 30 feet, it's a bad shot for 99% of players, but very exceptional for Steph since he usually hits those shots. The advancement of the three-pointer has drastically increased the speed the game's being played. This season so far, teams are averaging more than 31 attempts from behind the arc in comparison to only 18 in the 07-08 season. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Many forgotten All-Stars from the 90s would have even been better players if they were playing today. The game was a lot different then. Big men were at the height of their powers, dominating in the post, while the three-point shot wasn't really emphasized. A lot of players were excellent at it, but it wasn't a big focus. Many of them would drive in today's game and put up better numbers. I'm not talking about the biggest stars like Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, or Karl Malone. All-time greats like them would dominate in any era. I'm talking about guys who were very good players, who would even be better in today's NBA. With that said, here are 10 former star players from the 90s who would drive in today's game. Tim Hardaway. Before the Golden Boy Stephen Curry, there was Run TMZ with Tim Hardaway back in the late 80s and early 90s, led by head coach Don Nelson, where he allowed the team to play freely, get out there and run. The 6-foot point guard was known for his electrifying crossover, the original before Allen Iverson, beat his man off the dribble, dish it out, or finish at the rim. Before his knee injury, which caused him to miss his 5th season, Hardaway was averaging almost 23 points, 10 assists, over 2 steals. The 5-time All-Star averaged 8.2 assists for his entire career, and his three-point volume of 7.2 attempts per 100 possessions would increase today. Hardaway Sr. would be one of the best pure point guards in today's game. His Run TMZ teammate Mitt Richmond is one of the most forgotten players in the 90s. The 6'5 shooting guard was one of the best scorers of his generation, averaged over 20 points for 10 seasons, was a sharpshooter, knocked down almost 39% of his three-pointers. After he was traded from Golden State, he was on some terrible Kings teams who made the playoffs once in his 7 seasons there. With his sharp shooting translating to today's game, Richmond would average over 26 a game a couple times if he was playing right now. The GOAT Michael Jordan even said, Mitt Richmond was the toughest shooting guard he had to defend. Last but not least, the third member of the Run TMZ crew, Chris Mullin, one of the best shooters the game has ever seen. His pure jumper and work ethic allow him to become a 5-time All-Star and a member of the 1992 Dream Team. Not the quickest or most athletic guy, his IQ and understanding of the game allowed him to average over 25 a game for 5 straight seasons, a career 38.5% three-point shooter as the leading scorer for Run TMZ. Mullin would be one of the deadliest long-range snipers in today's game and one of the leading scorers in a style which would fit perfectly with his role at the 3 position, was responsible for the growth of Klay Thompson. The two worked together a lot during Klay's rookie season on many conditioning drills, developing Klay into one of the best catch-and-shoot guys the game has ever seen. Another guy just as great as a shooter as Klay is, Reggie Miller. Many people consider Miller as one of the best three-point shooters the game has ever seen. His game relies heavily on footwork, cutting to get open, and with today's spacing, Reggie would have attempted 7 to 8 three-pointers a game. With the current style and rules working in his favor, Miller's game would likely resemble similarities to a CJ McCollum, Klay Thompson type player, and of course, one of the most clutch players down the stretch. The 6'7 shooting guard also shot almost 40% from 3 for his entire career, still averaged almost 15 points in his final season at age 39. The only negative side is he'd definitely be getting more technical fouls today. Another sharpshooter from the 90s people forget about, Glen Rice. The 6'7 small forward was simply known for getting straight buckets, would likely play at the shooting guard position today, was terrific in transition, and a master at coming off screens. Once he catches fire, he can score 20 straight points and knock down 5 straight threes. Just watch footage of the 97 All-Star game. His height also allowed him to rise up and shoot over smaller defenders. One of the defining aspects of Rice's game was his efficiency. A career 40% three-point shooter, won the three-point shootout in '95 as a 3-time All-Star, put up 26.8 points in his prime, shot an incredible 47% from 3 in '96-97. Chris Webber. C-Web would have been the perfect stretch 4 given his multitude of skills, can even play the stretch 5. Perhaps the best player who's been Hall of Fame eligible for 5 years now but still hasn't gotten in yet, was the best player for those early 2000s Sacramento Kings team, a preview of what the modern NBA would become. With an unselfish offensive style of play where the ball was shared, C-Web averaged over 27, 11, and 4 in his prime in 2001, made All-NBA first team that season, can do everything offensively from shooting the three, posting up, an excellent passer as well. Webber would be very similar to a DeMarcus Cousins caliber talent in today's game. Eddie Jones, the 6'6" shooting guard, is most memorable for his playing days with the Lakers and Heat. As an excellent two-way player, he'd be the perfect stylistic balance as a 3-and-D type guy similar to Klay Thompson. Although not as great as a shooter as Klay is, Jones was very explosive getting to the rim, made All-NBA defensive second team twice. Another guy known for his amazing defense, Joe Dumars, most famous for his time with the Bad Boy Pistons. The 6'3" shooting guard was as tough as a defender as there was. He was Gary Harris's size, but had a much larger frame that allowed him to bully opponents. But against stronger guys, he'd be too quick for them. Shot 40% or better from 3-point range in 7 of his 14 seasons. He wasn't the most exciting player to watch, didn't have the best stats, not the flashiest player, but simply got the job done playing the right way, can simply do it all. Joe Dumars would be one of those guys most guards in today's NBA would absolutely hate to play against. But one guy who everybody would love to play with, Penny Hardaway. If it wasn't for his injuries, Hardaway might have well went down as one of the greatest players in NBA history. Well ahead of his time at 6'7", his combination of athleticism and court vision was unparalleled. His up-tempo system was frightening to many teams, as he'd be the perfect point guard today, was often compared to Magic Johnson, was an All-NBA player during his early days. Despite not being a good 3-point shooter early on, Hardaway did improve from long distance at the latter part of his career after his injuries. His game resembles a little bit of Ben Simmons. Another guy who was robbed of injuries, Grant Hill. Perhaps he would have been a top 15 to 20 player all time if healthy. Yes, he was that good. Many say he was essentially LeBron before LeBron, minus the power. With a very similar style of play, he had the complete all-around game. People even called him the next Jordan coming into the league. Averaged as many as 9 rebounds as a small forward and as many as 7.3 assists. The 7-time All-Star had a nasty crossover, can play as a slasher without the ball, create for others, and had a solid jumper. Grant even said he would have loved to play in this era, where he was technically one of the original point forwards. His handles and decision making separated him from the rest. If young Grant Hill played in today's game, he would average around 27, 9, and 8, putting up LeBron type numbers. Hill would unquestionably be a top 10 player today. There's a bunch of other guys from the 90s. A couple of my honorable mentions were all-star type players and would be huge assets in today's game. Guys like Drazen Petrovic, who can shoot the lights out. Dennis Scott was a 40% 3-point shooter. Dan Marley, Tony Kukoc, Mookie Blaylock, and Mohamed Abdul-Rahul, amongst others, would excel in today's game with their long-range shooting in the spread-out offense. Thank you so much for watching this video. I talk NBA comparisons, amazing storylines, NBA history, and anything basketball that would interest you. If you love the NBA, subscribe to my channel. More great stuff coming soon. See you next time.